Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving headfirst into the extraordinary, often explosive world of Gordon Ramsay. Now, you know the man. He yells, he swears, he can be absolutely terrifying on national television, yet he's built an empire valued at, what, an astonishing $220 million. So the big question is, how do you take that kind of raw, unvarnished intensity and actually transform it into one of the most powerful personal brands on the planet? I mean, most of us know the name, the voice, those signature wince-inducing insults. But what we're aiming to do in this deep dive is maybe peel back the layers of the celebrity chef persona a bit, reveal the calculated genius behind that storm.
Exactly. Our mission today is really to go beyond just the public face and uncover let's say, the strategic machinery, the stuff that transformed a sharp tongue and frankly, a steel spine into a global powerhouse. We're talking food, television, business, the whole package. By 2025, you're looking at an empire, like you said, over 80 restaurants, multiple best-selling cookbooks, viral shows like Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares, they're everywhere. And these global endorsement deals, I mean, from high-end cookware right through to Burger King. It's quite something.
It truly is. And for you listening right now, this isn't just, a profile of a famous chef. Think of this as a masterclass. Personal branding, resilience, strategic growth. It's all in there. So what can we learn from a man who's literally turned fire into fortune? Let's start by looking at a really foundational piece of his success, financial discipline. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Before all the Michelin stars, before the global fame, Gordon Ramsay's early life, back in Stratford-upon-Avon, it was marked by, profound instability, a broken home, an abusive father who was often unemployed, the family constantly moving sometimes, in the dead of night. It wasn't just hardship, it was a really brutal education and survival. And out of that, he seems to have forged this core, non-negotiable belief: never, ever be financially dependent on anyone. And this conviction, it would be tested later in the most devastating way imaginable.
Indeed. Yeah, in the late 2000s, this should have been a peak time for his growing restaurant empire. But Ramsay was just blindsided by this shocking betrayal. His own father-in-law, who was also his business partner, Chris Hutchison, he was secretly siphoning company funds. By 2010, when they uncovered it, it was nearly 1.5 million pounds used without Ramsay even knowing. The fallout was catastrophic, not just personally, I mean. It pushed his entire business right to the brink of collapse. And then Hutchison was later jailed for hacking the company's emails, which just added another layer of, personal and professional devastation.
Wow, it's hard to even imagine the emotional toll of a betrayal like that. From family, no less. But instead of letting it destroy him, Ramsay did something that really defines, I think, the long-term players. He turned inward. He didn't just, survive. He systematically rebuilt. He brought in professional auditors, tightened every single financial control, restructured his whole company around absolute transparency and lean efficiency. And the proof really is in the numbers. By 2019, Gordon Ramsay Holdings reported a healthy 1.5 million pounds in pre-tax profit. That's a solid 4.3% increase. It wasn't just about cutting costs, though. It was a fundamental shift. Strategic, almost clinical growth, making sure every new venture was scalable, franchisable, and importantly, deeply brand consistent.
And this is where that popular image, the screaming chef, kind of meets the reality, right? Insiders, people who work with him, they describe a man who, behind the scenes, is actually meticulous, charming, even humorous. There's that quote, "He just doesn't suffer fools." I think that really captures it. He took that financial trauma, that vulnerability, and he almost weaponized it, turned it into this unshakable strength for his empire. What's really insightful here, I think, is that Ramsay didn't just recover from that financial betrayal. He sort of reverse-engineered the vulnerability itself. He transformed that personal crisis into a systemic, unshakable strength. He built something, that nobody could ever take from him again.
Okay, so if that financial crucible forged his discipline, how did he then take that same intensity and apply it to scaling his ambitions beyond just the kitchen? Because, let's be honest, he never wanted to be just a chef, did he? After earning his third Michelin star, that's the peak for most chefs. He faced this choice, a choice few chefs even dream of: stay in the kitchen or build a legacy that transcends it. And, he chose the audacious path.
Yeah, that decision, it led him to systematize and scale his success in a way most chefs just never do or can't do. A really pivotal move came in 2019. It was a 50-50 joint venture with the private equity firm Lion Capital. The plan: launch Gordon Ramsay North America. The initial goal was incredibly ambitious, 100 new U.S. restaurants in 5 years. Now, even with the pandemic hitting, he recalibrated, didn't quit to 75 locations by 2026, all while maintaining that relentless focus on quality and momentum.
Right. And this wasn't just ego-driven expansion, throwing his name on buildings.
Yeah.
This was expansion by design. He leveraged this brilliant franchising model. For high-end concepts, things like Gordon Ramsay's Steak and Hell's Kitchen, strategically placed in major cities, casinos, these aren't just celebrity chef nameplates, are they? Each location is apparently rigorously audited. And Ramsay himself, he's personally involved in training the head chefs, the managers, ensuring this controlled, absolutely repeatable brand experience. It's all about consistency, not just putting flags on a map.
Exactly. And let's not forget his TV shows. They're broadcast in over 120 countries. They aren't just entertainment, They are incredibly potent marketing engines. They basically sell his core philosophy.
Yeah.
Excellence under pressure. People weren't just drawn to his food. They actually wanted his fire. That intensity, that became a recognizable, even desirable commodity.
And he broadened his scope way beyond food, too. It's not just restaurants. He's got multiple best-selling cookbooks, major endorsement deals, HexClad, Tide, Royal Doulton, brands like that. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. In 2025, he even signed that six-figure partnership with Burger King for plant-based burgers, a guy who once publicly mocked vegans. How do you even square that circle?
Well, there's a great quote from a former business executive who worked with him. They said, "Working with Gordon is like building with steel. You can shape it, but only if you come with fire." He's just not afraid to push boundaries, even his own. So the powerful takeaway here, maybe for listeners too, is you don't necessarily have to grow fast, but when you do grow, make absolutely sure it's replicable, deeply brand aligned, and built for genuine endurance. It's about being deliberate, not just jumping at every opportunity.
For most celebrity chefs, their career kind of peaks at the stove. That's the pinnacle. But for Gordon Ramsay, it's so clear the stove is just the starting line, isn't it? At 57, he's not slowing down at all. If anything, he seems to be accelerating. What drives that relentless pace?
Well, his physical discipline is, frankly, extraordinary. Rakes at dawn, runs long distance, lifts weights, routinely puts in these 14-hour workdays. He's completed multiple triathlons, even an Ironman 70.3. Holds a black belt in karate, too. He's famously said something like, "I've seen too many chefs collapse at 40, obese and burned out," right? You can't lead a kitchen if you can't lead your body. And that mindset, it just permeates his entire empire. His restaurants operate like these precision military units. Staff are trained for speed and for brutally direct feedback.
And that TV persona, right? What many people just see as pure anger, it is at its core a kind of performance-enhanced discipline. Every shout, every swear word, every fiery meltdown, it feels like choreographed chaos sometimes, like it's part of a larger psychological strategy, maybe, to push people past what they think their limits are. It's a very, very specific brand of tough love.
But, and this is the crucial nuance, I think, off camera, colleagues describe a very different Ramsay. Someone who dedicates time to actually mentoring staff, quietly pays tuition for young chefs, supports charities without fanfare. A former sous chef captured it perfectly, saying something like, "He's intense, yes, but fair. If you survive Gordon, you thrive everywhere else." It shows that the public persona, while real in its intensity, is rooted in something more complex. This really raises an important question, maybe for all of us listening. That consistency in public, it probably starts with relentless consistency in private. Your body, your calendar, your habits, they aren't just personal choices. For someone like Ramsay, they are his brand engine. They fuel everything else.
Let's talk about his core philosophy then, how that shapes his actual decision-making. There's that famous anecdote from way back in 1998. Ramsay ejected one of Britain's most feared food critics, A.A. Gill, from his restaurant. And it wasn't even for a bad review. It was because Gill brought someone. Ramsay apparently didn't like Gill's girlfriend at the time. Now, that wasn't a PR stunt. That feels like an act of, profound, almost unwavering conviction.
Yeah, that incident, it doesn't really illustrate arrogance, I don't think. It shows philosophical clarity. From the very earliest days of his career, Ramsay just utterly rejected shortcuts. He trained under legends, right? Marco Pierre White, Guy Savoy, enduring years of just brutal apprenticeship. So when he opened restaurant Gordon Ramsay in 1998, it earned 3 Michelin stars within 3 years. And it's kept them for over 2 decades. That's incredibly rare, one of the very few restaurants in the world. That kind of longevity, it demands decision-making without compromise. It has to.
And he's walked away from lucrative deals, hasn't he? Things that didn't align with his values, even when it meant leaving serious money on the table. He's famously refused to dumb down content for mass audiences, which is unusual. And his legendary quote on customer service, "It's almost contrarian, isn't it? The customer is not always right. The food must be right." That's a radical departure from conventional business wisdom.
Mm-hmm. And he's also shown a very clear willingness to sue, to split, to start over completely when partners crossed ethical lines or failed on quality. He once said, "If you don't protect your standards, you don't have a brand, you just have noise." It really underscores his belief that brand integrity is absolutely non-negotiable, protected at all costs. So the powerful takeaway here might be, in a world that seems addicted to saying yes all the time, it's actually your most strategic no that truly defines your power. It's about drawing clear, unmovable lines in the sand.
Yeah, it's becoming increasingly clear that Gordon Ramsay has built this persona that's just as impactful, maybe more impactful than his actual restaurants. His image is so instantly recognizable. You don't even need to hear him speak sometimes. You just need that glare, the snarl, the sharp British accent cutting through chaos, and you know exactly who it is instantly.
Definitely. By 2025, Ramsay's media empire, it stretches across over 120 countries. Global syndication of his shows. He commands, over 40 million followers across social platforms? And his YouTube clips routinely pull in tens of millions of views. It's staggering. He isn't just in the food world anymore. He is deeply embedded in global culture.
Yeah. And how did he pull that off? Partly, I think, by being utterly unforgettable. In an industry where most chefs maybe strive for a refined image or a neutral one or a safe one, Ramsay just leaned hard into the exact opposite. He built what branding experts sometimes call a fearless identity, an image so strong it becomes self-marketing. Like that strategist said, you don't need to introduce Gordon Ramsay. You just need to put a bleeped out sentence on screen and people know it's him.
Yeah.
He's not just famous, he's what you might call inherently referable. People talk about him.
Right. But here's the critical nuance again. His influence isn't just wild and untamed rage. It's remarkably engineered. Think about it. Every show has a consistent arc, right? Every clip seems meticulously crafted to be meme-ready. Every meltdown, every moment of redemption, they feel calibrated to hit specific emotional notes that just trend and resonate online. He's even openly admitted that TV Gordon is dialed up for effect, sure. But crucially, he insists it's always rooted in his very real, very uncompromising standards. It's not entirely fake.
Okay, let's go back to that 2025 Burger King partnership, the plant-based burger thing. It absolutely outraged some of the food purists, didn't it? But man, it exploded online. The ad itself featured his signature sass, that theatricality, and it got millions talking, reaching whole new demographics. All without really diluting his core brand or softening his edges somehow. It was kind of a masterclass in staying relevant without compromising who you are.
That's precisely the game Ramsay plays so well. Stay loud, stay honest, stay dominant. So if we connect this to the bigger picture for everyone listening, true power isn't really about how much you talk or how loud you shout. It's when your brand, your reputation, speaks for itself before you even utter a single word.
Okay, now let's pivot slightly to crisis and longevity, because every empire faces storms. In March 2020, as COVID-19 swept the globe, Gordon Ramsay had to make this devastating decision, closing multiple restaurants, laying off over 500 UK employees, just gut-wrenching. For a man so obsessed with control, who'd already faced that huge financial betrayal, this must have felt like absolute chaos descending again.
But Ramsay didn't crumble. He pivoted. And he pivoted hard and fast. He doubled down immediately on his digital presence. He transformed his YouTube channel into this hub for home cooking content, right from his kitchen in Cornwall during lockdown. Videos like Ramsay in 10 went viral, appealing directly to Gen Z, millennials, people stuck at home. He also very shrewdly embraced TikTok, that hashtag Ramsay Reacts series. Brutally honest, often hilarious. It pulled in tens of millions of views, surging his brand awareness way outside of traditional TV. He just moved where the audience was going.
And then, the biggest surprise of all, perhaps, came in 2025. That Burger King deal. The man who once publicly and quite viciously mocked vegans now partners with them for a plant-based burger. So what does this actually mean for his brand's evolution? Is he selling out or evolving?
I think it means Ramsay isn't married to his ego. He's married to relevance. He clearly understood that staying ahead meant listening to cultural shifts, not just trying to command them. But, and this is absolutely key, he didn't soften his tone to do it, that Burger King ad. It was pure, unadulterated Ramsay. Bombastic, sarcastic, completely unapologetic. He didn't change who he fundamentally was. He just changed where he played the game. He adapted the playing field. He once wisely said something like, evolution is painful, but you know what? So is irrelevance. He chose the painful path of evolution. What's truly fascinating here, maybe the lesson is, you don't survive a crisis by staying rigid, not usually. You survive by staying true to your core identity, sure, but also by moving with incredible speed and adaptability.
So when you boil it all down, Gordon Ramsay isn't just a chef with a brand. it feels more like. He is the brand. He's just living proof that powerful personal branding isn't always about being polished or palatable or liked by everyone. It's about being unmistakably you, consistently, at scale, under immense pressure, and crucially, over time.
Absolutely. His journey really shows us that your fire, whatever that is for you, isn't necessarily something to hide or suppress. It's something to shape. When you focus fire, it cooks, right? It builds things. It warms people. And in Ramsay's case, it earns a lot. He didn't get to that $220 million valuation by being universally liked. Far from it. He got there by being rigorously, almost painfully consistent in his standards, his daily rituals, who he hires, what he says yes to, and perhaps most powerfully, what he says no to. That kind of clarity isn't always comfortable for Hugh or the people around him, but it is profoundly magnetic. Because in a world that's just full of curated personas and, brand-safe smiles, Ramsay built a voice you simply can't ignore, a standard you can't fake, and a legacy you absolutely cannot copy. It kind of brings to mind that powerful truth, doesn't it? If you're not willing to piss a few people off, you're probably not ready to lead anything worth following. So maybe here's the deeper truth about what we've really discussed today. Your brand ultimately is not how loud you speak. It's how clearly you know who you are, especially when the heat is well and truly on.
So, what about you, listening to this? Could you build a brand that's bold enough to actually be remembered, but also disciplined enough to truly last? Are you the kind of person who sharpens when the pressure is on, or do you maybe soften a bit to please the room? It's a tough question. We've just spent time exploring how Gordon Ramsay turned that fire into fame and that fury into a fortune. But this story isn't just about him, is it? It's really a powerful testament to what can happen when someone refuses to be anything but completely themselves, and then does it with relentless, almost brutal discipline. So maybe take a moment now to reflect. What's your version of that intensity? We all have one. What's your non-negotiable standard? What line won't you cross? And what would your life, your career, your brand look like if you stopped trying so hard to be liked and started building something real, something authentic, something that truly endures? If you found value in this journey through Gordon Ramsay's world, his fire, his flaws, his undeniable force, do let us know. We'd genuinely love to hear what resonated with you most, or maybe even what made you uncomfortable, because true growth and maybe true power, that often begins right there, doesn't it, in the discomfort.